from Publicis in our studio. Hi, Pauline. Good afternoon. Are you enjoying the event so far?
Yeah, it's so insightful, and I'm so happy to be here today.
So, and you've been also on a panel.
Yeah, I just finished the panel. Yeah.
So, what was the point of the discussion on the panel? Let's start from that.
Yeah, so we're discussing more like how you can engage with high net worth individual and how can brand really connect with them through podcasts. So we talk about the strategy that you can put in place, what podcast is delivering on those high net individual expectations, from intimacy to authenticity. So we discussed all the points that really makes podcasts essential touch point to connect with wealthy individuals.
Why do you think it happens with podcasting? Why do you think podcasting has become an alternative, let's say, media, a modern media, how we call it, versus traditional one that gives all those benefits?
Because I think the media scene is getting really cluttered. And if I will think of like my portfolio of brands when it comes to luxury, we always want to really collaborate and put our content in a safe environment, and not only safe, also environment that really give you a premium content and really valuable insights. And I think the awareness about podcasts is growing in the region, because now you start to see a lot of podcasts tackling different topics, different interests, and this is really helping us as marketers to really look, okay, what it's there and how can we really connect with the right podcasts that have really high affinity with our audience. And I think this is really growing in our region. And today, like let's say maybe 2-3 years ago, when you say podcast, no one really understands what it means. Mm-hmm. And there is not like a awareness from marketeers or people that they work in media that you can integrate brand and you can leverage the power of podcast. But I think it has been a lot of educational webinars. You guys, what you're doing, it is really growing and making the scene more mature when it comes to podcasts. This is where it's giving us more opportunity to collaborate and to initiate or creating brands' own podcasts or collaborate with really existing and successful podcasts in the region.
Do you find it easier or still a little bit challenging for you as a professional working in the media industry to provide, to pitch on a solution to a client where the podcasting is integrated?
Yeah, it's a great question, because today, when you talk about podcasts, it's never going to be like, this is a key medium that I want to launch my campaign yet. It's always coming as an alternative or supporting platform. Okay, so when you go and you pitch it with clients, they would say, yeah, I'm going to do this campaign, I'm going to do this social media, outdoor, and then, yeah, if I have enough budget, I will include podcast. I think the challenges are like starting from awareness, and it all starts how we are educating our clients about the benefit and the advantage of podcasts, especially to connect with niche audience. I think this is something that we should really work together on. Even from our side, podcast today is not it's a top of mind media, because we receive a lot of briefs, and some briefs, they are very niche, and sometimes we don't really have it as a top of mind. I think we should really also drive this educational in media agencies, in creative agencies, and also during sessions that we can plan for clients.
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the themes, one of the messages that was shared multiple times today on the on our sessions and the panels, that the region from both sides lacks a little bit of bravery of trying something different. What do you think we could do to just break through that barrier as media people, as creators?
I think now more than ever, you should innovate. And when I say innovate, you should lead on this innovation. It's not like you see a trend and you just follow. I think bravery here is to design the right strategy And it's not something that you say, okay, let me use this digital strategy and build podcasts. No, it's not the case. I think it all starts by putting the platform at core and say, okay, how can we start and how can we make it successful? So I think for podcasts, because we think about it like it's like impulse activities. But I think the good thing about it is how can you sit with a client and really create a strong podcast strategy.
Yeah.
I think this is what's missing, and this is why today you don't see it like always on. There's like really growth when it comes to podcast listeners, but if you compare like how it's growing to the amount of advertising is not really equal, okay?
Yeah.
And it all goes back to what clients, they need to understand podcast is really a touch point that they have to use to connect with their audience, because they have the preference to really look at topics that really help them or even match their interest. So this is something that we should look at, and something that we should also, clients need to know the commitment that they can really deliver on when it comes to podcasts. So once those are nailed, this is where you start to see brands are putting more investments from a content and even from monetization perspective.
But do you have enough podcasts in the region that where you, as a media expert, would place an ad to?
There is, but not enough. And I think the question here, how can I measure which podcast I want to put my brand in?
Yeah.
I think there's also another learning, okay, how can I measure? How can I say, okay, what I did is right or wrong, how it's really impact my brand, what are the objectives or KPI I'm putting before I launch a podcast. I think it is there, but no one knows how to do it, and they don't know how to measure it. And I think it's also part of the educational webinar that we need to do as media marketeers, and at the same time to do it for the clients as well, and even for those who really own podcasts and they want to really grow it in our region. But you said something really good. I've been looking at the top podcasts in the region, and I see like there's a strong appetite in Saudi. But Saudi, they really want Arabic language, and this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
When you look in UAE, you do have local, but also there's a lot of people, they listen to international podcasts that they feel more credible, or they feel that they're really good and strong and established. So I think we need more creators. And I think it's coming, but it's like now we're building the infrastructure in our region. I think we have a best technology, we have the best people working on it. It's a matter of just really trying to source the right talents and the right match with the right brand.
I think it's also a great message to creators out there who think that their space is oversaturated. There's still a huge room for, creating, and probably as much as it probably doesn't sound attractive, but not making it for money, but making it creatively out of your interest, out of your authenticity and genuine curiosity probably, and that will probably eventually bring you to the level where media marketeers like you will reach certain podcasts. I mean, it is definitely, if the ecosystem that helps creators to survive until some certain point of time, that'll be very helpful, I guess.
I think you should always look long term. When tech started, they were not monetized, and now look at them. I think you need to build reputation. You need to really have really exciting and appealing content, and it's all about how genuine, how credible, and also how valuable. What are you providing me? What are the insights that really matters?
Yeah.
And the personalization. And once you have all these facts, brands will jump in without even asking.
I wanted to ask you, is the way you sort of consume the podcasts and the topics that you consume somehow influence the way you pitch on podcasting within bigger campaigns for your clients?
Of course, because when you watch podcasts, you start to see and you start to really analyze okay, what's happening, the host, and then the podcast, what he's saying, what he's talking about, what the purpose of it. And this is where you start to think of ideas. Let me connect this brand with this podcast because they have similar objectives. So these are the ideas I get the more I watch and the more I get hooked to one podcast that I feel it interests me. So this is one. Second, I'm a consumer as well. But at the same time, I work with like big brands. And I know what they want. And if I feel that this is a podcast that really can help them to drive reach and to connect with the right audience, definitely I will pitch it and I will tell the brand, okay, let's see how can we leverage this to really drive your objective and to drive your upper funnel business. So these are ways which help us also as a marketer. The more you are exposed, the better you can really strategize and bring the best of it.
Yeah. And one of the probably last questions, how do you see the future of podcasting in the region specifically?
Yeah, I think it's going to reach a point where it's going to become more mature. Because I think today, people know about it. People listen to it. And it's something that we see in their behavior. It's growing. And I think the social media has really played an important role to really let people discover it. I think the way how it's growing, the infrastructure will be more mature. Podcast will be part of any campaign, like you put TV, outdoor, digital. Podcast is not like, should I dismiss it? No, it's gonna be a must to put because it's like another channel. It's not like maybe I'll put it, no, but how I'm gonna put it, no, it's gonna be like regular. It comes without even thinking. But what I really think it's gonna grow is the measurable part, because you started to see a better targeting. You can get more insight on the level of content those people are really watching and listening to. And this is really will help marketers to really personalize and customize their messages based on the content that they see that people are really listening to. So this is how I see it from a data and insight perspective.
So I like this message because it actually supports what has been said earlier on the stage, that there's no time to wait.
Exactly.
I mean, the time is now. You've got creators, you've got advertisers, you've got people who can help to place it and to test. But it's only for the brave ones who are ready to start now, because probably later on it's going to be...
It will be too late. It's déjà vu.
It's going to be a much bigger game, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think now it's good to learn, because later on it's going to be very cluttered scene, I guess. And then maybe efficiency will be lower, because now you can test, learn, improve.
Yeah.
And then we always have it say when it comes to our clients, like, we should be the leader, not the followers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. No, I love talking to you, Pauline. I think it's our second conversation, and it's very valuable. I mean, all the industry expertise that you're bringing in, as well as probably your personal point of view. I mean, thank you so much. Thank you for this.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.